play the mridanga?
Sure.
Huh? All right, okay. What's the verse number? 7? No, 8? 6? 8, 6? 9. Okay. Hang on. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Avanacha Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradha Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Dana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Astottara Sarasi Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Sri Mayapura Navadvip Dham Ki Sri Purushottam Chetra Ki Sri Ganga Mai Ki Jai Sri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtana Ki Kvantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sisi Guru and Garango. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8. Canto 8. Withdrawal of the cosmic creations. Chapter 6. The demigods and demons declare a truce. Text 9. Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejyam Sreyo riti bhivadika tantrikena Yogena datta sahat nastrilokan Pasyamya mushmin uha vishvamurto Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejam Shreyor tibir vaidika tantrikena Yogena datta sahanastrilokan Pasyamya mushmin uha vishvamurto Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejyam Shreyon ritibhir vadika tantrikena Yogena tata sahanastrilokan Pasyamyamushmenuha vishvamurto. Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejam. Shreyo tritibhir vashika tantrikena. Yagena data sahanastri lokan. Pasyami masmin uha vishvamurto. Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejam. Shreyo tritibhir Yogena dhata sahanastri lokan. Pasyamamushminaha vishvamurto. Ladies? Rupam tavaitat purusha shabejam. Shreyo tritibhir Pasyamyamushmenuha vishvamurto. Rupam, form. Tava, your. Etat, this. Purusharishab, O best of all personalities. Ejam, worshipable. Shreyaha, ultimate auspiciousness. Artibhi, by persons who desire. Vaidika, under the direction of Vedic instructions. Tantrikena, realized by followers of Tantras, like Narada Pancharatra. Yogena, by practice of mystic yoga. Dhataha, O Supreme Director. Saha, with. Naha, us, the demigods. Trilokan, controlling the three worlds. Pashyami, we see directly. Amushmin, in you. U, O, Ha, completely manifested. Vishvamurto, in you, who have the universal form. O best of persons, O Supreme Director, those who actually aspire for supreme good fortune worship this form of your Lordship according to the Vedic Tantras. My Lord, we can see all the three worlds in you. Purport. The Vedic mantras say, Yasmin Vigyate Sarvam Evam Vigyatam Bhavati. When the devotee sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his meditation, or when he sees the Lord personally, face to face, he becomes aware of everything within this universe. Indeed, nothing is unknown to him. Everything within this material world is fully manifested to a devotee who has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 34, therefore advises, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Lord Brahma is one of these self-realized authorities. Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu. One must therefore accept this disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, and then one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in fullness. Here, the word Vishvamurto indicates that everything exists in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is able to worship him can see everything in him and see him in everything. Om Agyana Timirandasya Ginanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmae Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadate Svapadantikam Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam. The demigods are offering prayers to the Lord, and in doing so, sharing their appreciation and understanding, their realizations of the personality of Godhead. And so they're describing the Lord as the benefactor of the devotees. And they're describing how one can approach that Supreme Person, that benefactor, the one who has the well-being of all of the living entities within, or of everyone within the creation, has their best interest at heart. And Prabhupada makes a point here that, in the verse it describes how those who want good fortune, those who acting beneficially for the benefit of everybody, how they can approach him. You know, Prabhupada would always describe the process of Krishna consciousness as a science. Right? And Prabhupada's definition of science, we have the book, The Science of Self-Realization, right? And Prabhupada's definition, one of the definitions of science or being scientific was you go into a laboratory, you gather a certain quantity of ingredients, you mix them together in a particular way, and then you get the same result, right? You get the same result every time. You ensure that the ingredients are the same. The method of mixing, it's like cooking. Well, it's like cooking. Actually, it's not only the ingredients, although the ingredients are important, but it's also the method by which you put the ingredients together, right? So Prabhupada explains with the process of bhakti, if you add the correct ingredients and put them all together, you'll end up with the same result, right? Just like the devotees can tell when a Chincharupa has cooked the donuts. Have you noticed the difference between other people's donuts and a Chincharupa's donuts? You haven't? You haven't? Oh, okay. Well, the more discerning consumers can tell the difference. And then we have to go and quiz the cooks. What did you do? What did you do? So we discover they didn't use the right flour. You know, there's always something that they didn't do. So putting things together, it's an art, actually, in many respects, to get the same result. Right? So it's not only the ingredients, but it's also the way that you put them together. But Prabhupada makes a point that if you do that consistently with the art of bhakti, right, the art of devotional service, then you get the same result every time. And that's scientific, right? And as a consequence then, one who follows the path of bhakti becomes self-realized. Like Prabhupada published The Science of Self-Realization, which for most people is a mystery. You know, how do you achieve self-realization? Most people don't even know. They're not sure. They're not sure how to consistently duplicate or how to consistently replicate the results that accrue to a person who pursues self-realization scientifically or consistently, consecutively or deliberately. There is a process. And it's mentioned here. One of the keys is Vaidika Tantrikena. Vaidika Tantrikena, which means under the directions under the direction of Vedic instructions. And tantrikena, realized by followers of tantras. And it's interesting, Prabhupada specifies what tantra, or what kind of tantra, and in the word for word, and he says, like Narada Pancharatra, right? Which is a very specific form of worship. Narada Muni has compiled the Narada Pancharatra. Even Srila Prabhupada started translating the Narada Pancharatra. And of course, within the Narada Pancharatra are the prescriptions for the practice of bhakti, the practice of devotional service, very specifically. You know, when we hear of Tantra, then what we're exposed to in the modern, dissemination of information about Vedic tradition. The tantric practices are something like a black art, right? But there's a very specific practice that, as I mentioned, scientific is a very specific practice or a set of activities that, when performed, will bring a person to the point of self-realization. Right? And one of the qualifications is described here, or a number of qualifications actually. One is that one will see the Lord. One will actually, and here, see the Lord personally, face to face. And then, so that's one of the characteristics of a person who's followed the correct procedure or the correct process by applying it systematically and consistently. They will have a realization of the personality of Godhead. And also, Prabhupada says here, which is a very interesting statement, and he becomes aware of everything within this universe. Becomes aware of everything within this universe. That's quite an astounding statement, isn't it? Becomes aware of everything. You know, sometimes people think the Guru is like a all-knowing, ever-present personality. But you know, the devotees would ask Srila Prabhupada, if you know everything, how come sometimes you forget slokas? Right, so what does this mean? What does it actually mean to be aware of everything within the universe? What does that mean? What do you think? Yeah, yes, that's one way of looking at it. Yep, but quite correct. Anybody else? What do you think?
You can see all creations created by Krishna, so you can predict everything is Krishna.
That's more or less what Prabhu said, I think. Something different. Gopi Vrindesh.
Everything to serve Krishna.
Everything to serve Krishna. Yeah, okay. But it says here, he becomes aware of everything within the universe. Yes, yeah, certainly. What else?
You know your original position as a soul.
Sorry?
You know your original constitution as a soul.
Well, that's good. Yeah, yeah, certainly. That's a good start, right? You can identify yourself as somebody separate to the body, right? And be aware of certainly if one's aware of one's spiritual identity, then that means one can differentiate oneself from matter. Right? So there's an appreciation of the spirit, our spiritual identity, separate from the material identity. They're very interesting, this topic, or this point. He becomes aware of everything within this universe. And yet, most devotees are not aware of everything, right? So there are certain principles, there must be certain principles that one becomes aware of as a result of practicing bhakti. Right? And certainly understanding one's spiritual identity, and that Krishna is also a spiritual identity. Even though he manifests in a form that looks like an ordinary human being, we know from hearing from the Shastra, and also from personal experience, that Krishna's form is unique. Looks like, but is completely different from any other form. And of course that's the mystic process of bhakti reveals all of these things to the devotee. Within the heart of a devotee, they're able to appreciate and see things from a very different perspective that the ordinary point of view is aware of. Is these characteristics or these features of Krishna, the spiritual potency, the spiritual power, the Shaktis, right? Parasya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate. We hear from the Shastra of the various potencies of the Supreme Person. And then by the practice of bhakti, one's able to perceive and to meditate on and to relish or to appreciate and understand God in his full manifestation, and God in the form of the expansion of all of his energies. Right? And appreciate that, understand the interaction of the workings of the material nature, of the material energy, understanding the workings of the spiritual nature and the spiritual, one's spiritual identity, the interaction of those, of the play of those energies, if you like. And this is illustrated in Vedic literature, the sambandha, or the relationships of the Lord and his energies, the Lord and his devotees. What the practice is to have a deep realization of those, to directly perceive those qualities and characteristics, and an understanding of what the ultimate goal is, what the ultimate achievement is in the pursuance of that understanding and that practice, what it means to be a devotee. So there's the devotees have an opportunity. These things are revealed to the devotee. So pretty much in any given situation, as Gopa Vrindesh Prabhu mentioned, A devotee knows how to be engaged in Krishna's service in any circumstance, in any situation. Prabhupada says here, indeed, nothing is unknown to him. That's a powerful statement. Nothing is unknown to him. Everything within this material world is fully manifested to a devotee who has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse here. Prabhupada makes the point in one lecture, this is the most important verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Right? This is the most important teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. And he's supportive of this notion or this understanding that the devotee knows everything. And if you want to be perfect, if you want to understand, have the same level of realization, the same level of understanding, then one has to approach a devotee. Tadvidhi pranipatena. One has to be approached with respect. Or with humility, right? If one wants to learn the truth, if one wants to learn anything, one has to approach the teacher with some deference, right? With some acceptance of the relationship being, I am the student, I'm to receive learning, knowledge, understanding, and in order to receive that, I need to approach somebody who's more learned than myself, right? And for the devotees, that means they're aware of the principles of this, as Prabhupada mentions here earlier. The Narada, the Vaidika Tantrikena, the rules and regulations, the process, the application of, as we know, or as is mentioned here, the process of bhakti, the process of devotional service, and then that process reveals everything to the devotee. So we need to approach the teacher with respect and pariprashnena, with a sense of inquiry, right? Appropriate inquiry, not a challenging, but a submissive inquiry. That's the combination of pranipatena, pariprashnena. It's a particular mood of the aspirant, of the aspiring devotee. And sevaya, with a mood of service. Right? These three things need to be present within the character, within the heart of a aspiring devotee. In other words, one has to be a servant. This is a key characteristic, a key feature of somebody who's following the process correctly. They must be a servant. We get the interesting situation where devotees are given roles of responsibility, right? And then the tendency is then they want to tell everybody what to do, and they're the absolute authority. And then Acharya Rupa and I get the complaints. we're working with this devotee, but he's so inflexible. He thinks he's got to control everything and everyone, right? And you know, that's a service. There are services where one is, you know, a manager. Right? But very often when we're organising and managing, like we just had the cultural program at the timber yard, which was, did everybody go? Everybody here go yesterday to the program? Did you have a good time? It was a lot of glorification of Krishna. So very enjoyable. But you know, a lot of organising. And of course, what happens when there's organising? There's differences of opinion. Differences of opinion, and so sometimes as a result of differences of opinion, there's friction. Prabhupada says natural in social interactions. There's friction, and sometimes a bit of smoke is created, a bit of heat, and so then a bit of smoke and a bit of fire. Not at all unusual. Not at all unusual. And so very often a manager, so-called manager, discovers that organising and coordinating people is not always easy, because not everybody has the same perspective. And then you realise you're not the supreme controller, you're not the supreme organiser, and that usually you have to listen to others to get the full perspective of what's going on. And so in many respects, being a manager or being an organiser of events, of activities, requires being very humble and having a service attitude. And part of that service attitude is to hear from others, right? Understand and appreciate the different perspective of others. And then, you know, one of my experiences with leadership is find out what everybody else wants to do and then encourage them to do it. Rather than thinking, you know, I'm in charge around here and everybody should do what I tell them to do. One good way of leading people is to listen to what they've got to say first, what they want to do, and then say, yeah, go and do that. And everybody's super enthusiastic. You get the credit, even though it's everybody else's inspiration. And everything runs smoothly. And of course, you know, there are situations and circumstances where one has to, you know, pull out the stick and wave it a little bit if things are not being done properly, right? There are occasions when you need to do that, but it's very rare. Most devotees are well-intended, have good intentions, and they're properly motivated. And, you know, Krishna gives the intelligence. What is it? Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna says, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Because sometimes there are people who lack intelligence, that's true. They're the ones that you need to deal with. Most of the time, devotees are pretty well-intentioned and capable. So we discover that the principle of working cooperatively with the devotees is having this service attitude, service mood, right? Even for those who might be the managers, the so-called managers, right? And so that service attitude has to be there within everybody. Not, hey, I'm the manager and you do what I tell you to do. That can create friction. We get friction. And sparks. Sparks will fly. So having this the right mood, respectful or humble, inquisitive, right? Inquire, and be prepared to serve are the qualifications for a devotee who's going to make advancement, will make advancement. And by approaching the right person, the qualified spiritual master, one will also then realize the truth. Everything will be revealed to that devotee. And here, Jnaninas Tattvadarshanaha. One has to approach the learned who have a vision of the truth, the tattva, who see the truth. So this is almost this is the magic formula in one sense for making spiritual advancement. One has to be respectful to others, one has to be inquisitive, and then ready to serve. That's why good leadership means finding out what everybody else wants to do, correcting anybody who's got the wrong idea, right? That's appropriate, not thinking, hey, I'm the boss, you all do what I tell you to do. Because even Prabhupada says, we're all suffering from the 4 defects. And why approaching the devotees with a service attitude is really important. And that service attitude manifests in inquiry. Right? How can I serve you? How can we all serve in this particular situation so that we achieve our the results? So we can see how the devotees actually, by working, my appreciation for all of the efforts of the devotees yesterday was just how talented a group of devotees we have, and how when you put all of that capacity together, you get a wonderful result. And I was just thinking how pleased Srila Prabhupada is pleased by the devotees coming together and having a party, basically, coming together to have a party. But it's all glorification of Krishna. Huh? And so that's so inspiring and so encouraging. And as I mentioned to Gopa last night, one of the things that struck me the most was when Hanuman paid his obeisances to Lord Ram and Lakshman, right? That everybody cheered. And he was just paying his obeisances. We pay our obeisances all the time. But it was like, a goal kicked in a football match. And then the other time when Hanuman was, that image of Hanuman flying over the ocean, and everybody was cheering. Oh, I just thought that was so sweet, so indicative of a devotional mood. Because what's Hanuman doing? He's going into the unknown in many respects, right? On an adventure, and certainly a challenge, very challenging situation. So that mood of service is essential, but also that humility and that inquiry. How can I serve you? Is a characteristic that's key to that gaining that realization of everything, right? How the creation works and how it's all put together and what its purpose is revealed to a devotee. Right? May not be necessarily, the minutiae, the detail, as much as it is an understanding of the broader principles of how everything works. The material creation is not a place for enjoyment. This is real learning, having a real understanding of how things work. What is it? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease in the material world. This is the kind of learning or understanding that's considered complete in the Vedic concept, not some mundane academic information or learning, but rather an understanding of the basic principles of the workings of the universe that are all described within the Bhagavad Gita. This is according to Vedic culture, this is real learning, not just the amassing of information, right? The gathering of information, but rather understanding how the whole material creation works and the basic principles behind it, and the principles of how to get out of the material world and return to the spiritual world, which is really the teachings of the Narada Pancharatra, is how to get out of the material world. This is considered real learning or real understanding, right? Real knowledge. So when one has awareness of Krishna and has a realization of Krishna, and as a consequence, or prior to that actually, an understanding of how devotional service works and what its purpose is and how to do it, that's considered to be full knowledge. Right? And illustrated by, and this, having success in that practice is illustrated in this verse. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadashanaha. And then Prabhupada points out here, Lord Brahma, who's heading up the demigods, is one of these self-realized authorities. And then Prabhupada quotes Swayambhur, Narada, Sambhu, these are the Mahajans. Kumara, Kapilo, Manu. So there's a list of personalities who exemplify this understanding, this realization, this awareness of everything within the universe. Right? Or here, everything within the material world. And as Prabhupada said, indeed, nothing is unknown to the devotee. That's attractive, isn't it? Who wouldn't like to know everything? So, how to do that? One must therefore accept the disciplic succession. So this is the parampara, and so much of our process is about connecting with the parampara. Initiation, right, is the formal connection with the parampara, so that one can receive that knowledge, that learning. Prabhupada, what's the example that Prabhupada gives of the parampara in terms of reception? Prabhupada gives the example of plugging an electric appliance into the wall and turning on the switch. And then the power comes from the original powerhouse. The power comes. So our connection with the parampara is the initiation, preparation and the practice of devotional service is in many respects focused on initiation. What's the first question that devotees ask you, or at least they ask me when I travel? What's the first question that devotees ask you? Yes, who's your guru? Which is an interesting question. It's a loaded question. Who's your guru? And a puzzling question in many respects, because what happens if that devotee doesn't know who your guru is anyway? What's it got to do with the price of anything? But it's indicative of how much emphasis and how important initiation actually is. Right? There are statements in the Shastra which say that your devotional service doesn't add up to anything until you're initiated. And that's your connection with Krishna, formal connection. So important, so much emphasis is placed on that connection, and that ultimately that connection means if you have that connection, then you're connected to Krishna. That's why it's so important. But of course, that connection depends on so many other characteristics and qualities that the individual must have here. Pranipatena, pariprasnena, sevaya. Right? And the guru tests the disciple to ensure that those qualities are present. Pranipatena, pariprasnena, sevaya, in order for that individual to be successful in the practice of devotional service. And that principle is manifest in following in the footsteps, or following the instructions, following the guidance of personalities like Lord Brahma, like Narada, like Lord Shiva, Kapiladev, Lord Kapiladev, the Chatushkumar, right? Or in our case, we're following Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is our Mahajan, right? We have to follow a Mahajan, and our Mahajan is Srila Prabhupada. And we follow Srila Prabhupada by following his disciple. This is the methodology. The student follows the guru, and by faithfully following the spiritual master, they also then become qualified to teach also. Right? And then through that application of these three principles, humility and submission, that's one, and then inquiry, that's two, and then when you work out what your service is, serve, sevaya. The combination of those three elements, following the correct person, right? That then's the correct connection to the powerhouse. And the powerhouse is Krishna, the supreme power. Right? So in one sense, those three principles are the basis of learning and knowledge, and certainly within our tradition. It's so important, and so much subtlety in that. This is it put simply, but the application, there is a certain amount of nuance in the application, right? And why we approach a guru, or why we approach a teacher, and why we're submissive to the instructions of the teacher, and follow the example and the guidance and the mood of the devotees. And as a consequence, the learning, the acquisition of knowledge and understanding and learning is acquired by a devotee. And it inspires the devotees, actually. Right? And so the Prabhupada says here, one must therefore accept the disciplic succession. This is a process. One must accept the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, our Lord Brahma is the originator of our line of teaching, of our line of practice, our line of submission, if you like, to Krishna. And if we accept that disciplic succession in the process, Prabhupada says here, then one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full. Or Prabhupada says it in fullness. Same thing. And then at the end, Prabhupada qualifies this. And he says, everything exists in the form of the Supreme Person. And if we worship Him, we'll see Krishna within everything and everything within Krishna. Right, this is a definition of this knowledge. It's to see Krishna within everything and then see everything within Krishna. And of course that's all pretty much exemplified in the Bhagavad Gita, the principles, the basic teachings, and then elaborated in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, this knowledge and learning. Why Srila Prabhupada put so much effort into publishing these books, so that we'd have a very clear and deep understanding of the learning, of the knowledge, the actual knowledge that we're acquiring. It's not, that I know exactly what's going on in a particular place at a particular time from a distance, right? Yeah? That kind of microscopic kind of, what's going on here? But rather the broader principles are what entails or makes up the fullness of learning, is to understand the basic principles that are described in the Bhagavad Gita. And especially the basic principles that are described within the Bhagavatam. That's why Srila Prabhupada only focused on that literature, right? Because it's the essence of learning, manifest in the practice of the disciplic succession. And so the demigods are saying here, if we worship you according to these principles, then everything will be revealed. Everything is revealed to people who follow this process. And that process is described in literature like the Narada Pancharatra, or what was it? Vaidika Tantrikena. That's the practice is described. And then if we follow that, we'll know everything. Right? But that's qualified, know everything. We know the basic principles of how the universe functions, what its purpose is, what we should be doing. This is considered real understanding, real learning, not necessarily knowing how many atoms there are in the whole creation. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions on any of these points?
You mentioned about before Krishna
So that, can you repeat that again?
So you're talking about initiation. And,
Initiation.
Right.
Yes.
And before initiation, devotional service doesn't really add up to much before you have that. I'm obviously asking because I'm
qualify that.
not.
I'll qualify that, but yeah, go on.
No, you.
That was the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not correct. Or shall we say it's a little, there is nuance. Srila Prabhupada gives the example. So there are statements in the Shastra which say that, without initiation, one's efforts are don't add up to much, right? But that's not exactly, there's a more subtle understanding of that, in that, and the reason why that is because the activities that we perform should bring us to the point of initiation, but that's then the beginning of our spiritual life, of our spiritual pursuit, and that one at that point can then start making progress, concrete progress or significant progress towards understanding, one's identity and purpose and what we should be doing. So Prabhupada gives the example of tilling the soil in a field, right, before we plant the seed. So the initiation is the planting of the seed, right? But we know if we till the field and prepare it, fertilise it, pull up the weeds, take out the rocks, whatever, make the field, prepare the field so that when the seed is planted, then it will flourish, right? That it will grow healthily. In that context, the practice of devotional service before initiation is the preparation, so that when the initiation takes place, then the bond is stronger and the engagement in those devotional practices, which are effectively the same, will be healthy, and the seed of bhakti will sprout, and the performance of devotional service will bring fruit, right? So Lord Chaitanya describes the process of devotional service as being like the activities of a gardener, right? And so the seed of bhakti is planted at the time of initiation by the spiritual master, but the devotee is like a gardener who pulls up the weeds, makes sure that the fence around the garden is secure, so that the chanting of Hare Krishna, which is the watering of the seed, is effective and brings results, right? So, and even Prabhupada mentions in those conversations in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that we require the devotees to chant 16 rounds for at least 6 months to a year before initiation is given, in order to test the candidate, to ensure that when they are initiated, then they'll continue to be, their devotional service will be effective, right? So if one does the preparation but doesn't get initiated, then what's the point of the preparation, right? So in that sense, if we prepare but don't take the initiation, then that effort doesn't bring us the full result. So in that context, we can say the activities are not beneficial, or ultimately not productive of a result, right? And so therefore, in one sense, a waste of time. But in the context of preparation and then initiation, not a waste of time. Is that all right? Yeah. So, we shouldn't think, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, oh, no, I'm not initiated, oh, everything I do is a waste of time. But it's not. It's preparation. And it may take time too. Devotees often kind of, who's your guru? Come on, what's wrong with you? Right? It's very interesting. Prabhupada, on occasion, one occasion that I'm aware of, told the devotees, it doesn't matter if people don't get initiated. And some people are not ready. Like, very interesting, George Harrison is an interesting example. He was a friend of the devotees, he spent time with the devotees, yet Srila Prabhupada understood that his role or his engagement as a devotee wasn't dependent on him getting initiated. It just wasn't appropriate for him at that time. Still able to help the devotees. He's still a friend of the devotees. And if you interact with a lot of people in the world, you realise a lot of these people aren't going to be chanting 16 rounds quickly, right? And what do we do? You're not chanting 16 rounds, what's wrong with you? But they may not be at that point, right? And so that's why we as devotees need to be sensitive to where we're at and where they're, at what stage of development they are. And then very often our preaching, if you like, is just making friends with people rather than, who's your guru? Huh? Who's your guru? I don't have a guru. Am I a lesser person because I don't have a guru? So, there's subtlety in applying this learning, appropriate for each person's stage of development, where they're at what stage a person is in their journey to Krishna, right? What's that book that Prabhupada wrote? On the Way to Krishna. And it's a fairly long journey. So people are going to be at different stages of that journey. And many of them don't even know that they're on the journey. In fact, and Prabhupada gives the example, they're not going to Krishna, they're going away from Krishna. And we have to learn to live with that too. Deal with the fact that some people are not interested in knowing Krishna, they want to stay away from him. Unfortunate for them and everybody else, but that's the reality. Any other comments or questions? Haribol, Radha Ballabha, welcome back to Melbourne. Are you staying here for a while? 3 weeks. Cool. Anybody, ladies, want to share anything? Okay. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavangstam Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathantam Svam Sadivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitanstam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,